Tonight, there is breaking news right now as we come on the air. A new wildfire has just exploded in Los Angeles County. 55,000 people told to evacuate right now. The image is just in tonight. This fire just north of L.A. Smoke and flames from the Hughes Fire filling the sky tonight. Students seen running from a high school. At least 5 schools evacuated. Red flag warnings up at this hour. And what could be a very dangerous night ahead. We'll go live to Matt Gutman.
This has just grown exponentially, exploded in flames. Seeing a lot more of that lazy white smoke up in the northern portion of it. You can see that line earlier on. We were looking and we were watching as the flames were using up the fuel that is right there. And they actually had some Forest Service trucks. Oh, they're still there. That little green dot you see out there in the distance, that's going to be a Forest Service vehicle. They've been kind of keeping an eye on it. Those guys know what they're doing. They're not in any kind of danger, I am sure. There's one of the drops from the Super Scoopers. The Super Scoopers, and they're doing that spot where it had jumped the line. The Super Scoopers actually are picking up the water at Bouquet Canyon Reservoir, as I understand it, which isn't that far away. There's the second one. They always travel in tandem. Those things are just so awesome. That whole ridge was on fire just moments ago. 2 drops from the Super Scooper. The majority, the bulk of that fire now out. All that header, all that smoke right there, if it starts dropping embers down into these neighborhoods right here, that could be that is going to change the game completely. So I'm keeping an eye out, making sure that we don't see any hot spots over there. Seems like the fire is slowing down a little bit because it's cresting a lot of these hillsides right here. And then, of course, with all those helicopters dropping water, I think that is going to be very, very beneficial for that whole firefight. Yeah, the Super Scoopers are here.
The Super
so
Scoopers.
They are definitely working with their aerial assets, and this is really great to see. I've got 2 of the big planes out here. There's one in the distance and one right here, and they are circling, waiting for the fire attack. That's basically a mobile tower for these guys to basically say, hey, you can come in, you can start doing drops, and of course they got this one, and then there's another one. I just don't want to lose one for the other. There's another one right over here, but I think I'm going to get Skyfox in the shot, and I think that's the one that's going to do the first drop. But look at how quickly they get out here. Look at how quickly they're making their way, and so this is these are like the heroes. This is like the cavalry coming in, and they're going to start dropping the Phosgec, that flame retardant, but they have to wait for air attack to basically tell them, hey, you're safe to come in, because the fixed wing can't come into that area when the helicopters are out there. So that's what we're waiting on right now. But they are here, they're ready, and again, another positive is their base is relatively close by. It's going to be Fox Field.
It did sound like the winds are less in terms of strength, less strong, and also it's blowing the fire in a different direction away from a lot of those structures. We also see the aerial attack swiftly coming in to make those drops.
So we're just now getting confirmation from CAL FIRE that this fire has now jumped to 500 acres from 100 acres just a few moments ago. So you can see how quickly this fire seems to be moving, even though it's battling against these winds. There's another aerial drop that you see right there over the ridge line, hoping to contain those flames.
Listen, we work really well with law enforcement in the area, and they help facilitate those evacuation orders and enforce those warnings and orders. So between the combination of our law enforcement on the ground, that's where the big support comes from, letting people know that it's time to get out. And then we really show up and help however we can.
The fact that at 10:42 you started this fire.
Exactly.
Over an hour later, it's grown to over 500 acres.
500 acres, and we still see so much smoke and fire. Fortunately, we saw winds dying down a bit, but still very strong in that area. 32 miles per hour, I think I heard her saying, and that it is going to be growing. And as Paul Diano was saying, this is the driest winter that we've had on record.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And
there's so much stuff to burn, it's so dry, and then throw on top of it a windy afternoon, which it's turning out to be in this area. The wind never really let up. It just relaxed a bit. I want to point out on the bottom left, that's the active fire shot from SkyCal. Notice that the smoke, once again, is not exiting vertically. It's kind of hugging the ground. So everywhere where you see that smoke plume that's near the ground, there could be embers within that smoke plume that would start new fires downwind. You can see the smoke plume. Look at those hundreds of houses either under that smoke plume or right next to that smoke plume. That is not what we want to see on a day like today.
The state of California has worked over the last 20 or 30 years to unify these commands, to unify these radio channels and the operations that take place in the air, specifically so that this can be a seamless aerial attack. And you can see these Phos-Chek lines already coming down. This is going to be a big help in getting this fire guided into, the direction they want it to go, away from homes, and then they're going to get it to stop. But you can see here, Chris, fire burning uphill in some gusty conditions, and the terrain is steep and the vegetation is very, very dry. Unfortunately, this is going to make this firefight a lot harder, even with this essentially armada of aerial attack craft overhead.
Right now, as you can see, we have a lot of air resources on this fire. That's our plan, is to hit that hard from up above. Those helicopter pilots and Chinooks are doing great work. We have our resources are in place and on their way. We are in unified command with Angeles National Forest right now. So everything we do on our brush fires, we're getting set up to continue to make this attack to hopefully contain this fire as quickly as possible, because it does have a high potential for spread.
Everyone in this community, in these communities here, need to be packed up and ready, because we are seeing fire behavior indicating that it is moving to the south and also to the north. Now, the north, we're not too concerned about that because there's really nobody that lives out there. But down here, these communities in Santa Clarita, certainly, as Paul Diano had mentioned, they need to be thinking about packing up their cars and getting ready to go.
All right, that plume of smoke, it continues to grow. We already saw it all the way down the 405. So evacuation orders have been placed. To give you an idea of where we are at, we are right next to Castaic Lake, where you enter to come into the lake at the state recreation area. Now, a lot of traffic for people that are under those evacuation orders. Some good news. I did hear the sheriff's deputies talking that all the kids at North Lake Hills Elementary School have been evacuated. So that school's been evacuated. The kids are out of there. That's where that smoke is taking place. And I know Mark was just saying that this is a lot of area that has a lot of brush and vegetation, but the problem is you can see my hair blowing in the wind. It's blowing southwest. That's where homes are. So that's where the concern is, and that's where those evacuation orders are set right now. So if you live in those areas of Castaic Lake, Green Hill, Hasley Canyon, Hillcrest, Paradise Ranch, Ridge, Romero, and Sloan Canyon, you are under an evacuation order. You should be preparing to leave and go. We are seeing LA County here. I'm also seeing a lot of sheriff's deputies and the water department coming out here as well. But obviously, it's a very hectic situation down this way as these evacuation orders came in very fast as this fire is moving. That wind now picking up again. A lot of vegetation. This fire can move quickly, and a lot of homes are up in these hillsides that are leading right up to those hills that can burn very, very quickly. So please, if you live in this area and are under an evacuation order, please take heed of these evacuation orders and get ready to go at this time.
People running behind you. These evacuations are happening. It seems like after our last two big fires, people are taking these evacuations more seriously. And we saw those people running. We know a lot of people were gone from home at work, and they had to go back to try to maybe get pets, trying to get some items. But we really encourage everyone to take these evacuation orders and even the warnings very seriously, because
now the I-5 is open still, but that could be a major issue too as we take a look at all of the smoke plumes. Also somewhat fortunate, Mark, that we have such good air support this time, which we weren't able to have in those other fires in the initial days because the winds were so high. But now all of LA and surrounding departments are all hands on deck ready for another fire.
These are the exact same aircraft that have been so busy over the last 14 to 20 days, essentially doing the water drops and the Phos-Chek drops on what is very likely now their 5th or 6th major brush fire. What you're looking at here is the radar, and all of these orange icons up here on the northwest part of Lake Castaic are the water dropping helicopters that are filling up here on the northwest side of Lake Castaic. Now the fire, for a better perspective, is essentially burning in a line all along here. The start right about there, And now it continues in a northerly direction. We are seeing the head of the fire move to the north here. And we're also seeing fire down under here. But the smoke, it's all drifting in this direction. So these helicopters, they essentially have to fly through the smoke to get to the fire line. Now, Lake Hughes Road here, as I said, is closed for any sort of civilian traffic. It's being used for firefighters to get into the fire. They're probably not able to get too far. They're probably going to stop right about here because that's where the fire is. And then, of course, the 5 freeway goes up here. It is still open at this time. But right now, we're about to see some fixed wing come in shortly as all of those aircraft are over to the left waiting for those fixed wing to do their Phos-check drops.
Everyone started freaking out, but like we all went into the NPR and they told us to like go from the front gate out. So that was a lot over there because we didn't know where to go and what to do. So
It happened fast.
yeah, it happened real fast. Like it was like a little bit of fire and then we went outside like that and there was a lot of fire. Like it was crazy.
There was a lot of smoke. Tell me what that was like.
A lot of smoke. We could have smelled it from inside the classroom.
But when you're outside, it was bad.
Yeah, it was super bad.
Okay. What was it like evacuating school today?
So like everyone started crying when we were in the NPR, and everyone had to leave because everyone was shouting. So everyone's now at the sports complex.
We are just east of the 5 off of Lake Hughes. Lake Hughes is where that fire started. The smoke is blowing towards those neighborhoods. So right now the fire is burning through a lot of vegetation and brush right next to the lake. It is very, very dry over there. But the concern is there's a lot of homes in this area in the direction the wind is blowing. So I know a lot of people that live across the 5, on the west side of the 5, it's thinking, the fire's far, I don't need to go. But that's the direction we are seeing the smoke going. And it's actually all behind where Sloan Canyon is, Hasley Canyon, Hillcrest, all those neighborhoods up that way. And you are under an evacuation order, so you need to go. You need to start preparing now, even though the fire is on the other side of the 5 right now. We know how quickly those smoke embers can go. I'll tell you, on the way in, traffic started to get really backed up on the 5, starting at Hasley Canyon, getting off at Hasley Canyon, where the Rouse is right there. Very tricky to get off the freeway there. The old road also backed up. Lake Hughes and Parker also taking a long time to get off the road there. So get your animals out as quickly as possible. My mom just got my cats and dogs too because we live close by. So
I saw it and it was growing big. It was a bunch of fire or a bunch of smoke. It was just going that way. And the sky was all dark. I was scared.
Yeah, and so Castaic High School has been evacuated?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, how quickly did they get all you guys out?
It was like a while, like 20 minutes.
Did you come down Hillcrest?
Yeah.
Okay, how is it coming down Hillcrest?
There's a lot of traffic. Oh, we're just packing everything right now. We haven't put anything in the cars yet, but we're about to leave, yeah.
Oh, that rain is in the forecast, but right now it is still just bone dry out there, and we are dealing with the winds, and we've been seeing how dark this smoke is, and this is often an indication of how much brush is being burned in that area. But I mean, this fire has just really just taken off since it broke out at 10:42 this morning.
Hey, wow, we're seeing it just how close to the roadway it is right now. So talk to us about what you all are doing.
Angeles National Forest firefighters are on the scene in unified command with LA County Fire Department. There's also assistance from LA County Sheriff's Department and from CHP. The fire is currently 3,400 acres with 0% containment, but our firefighters are working hard to put this fire out as quickly as possible.
Not that a roadway would be a barrier for a fire, but we have seen that it has already crossed over. What we're showing our viewers now is it is on both sides of the roadway.
Again, our firefighters are working very hard to try to put this firefight out as quickly as possible.
Over the area here, you have more information on the firefight?
Yeah, that's exactly right. That DC-10 is on station. They call it the VLAT, or Very Large Air Tanker, capable of dropping 9,000 gallons of Phos-check in one go. That does the work of 9 water-dropping helicopters, and it is on station along with 2 McDonnell Douglas MD-87s, also able to drop about 4,000 gallons of retardant each, along with a host of other aircraft. But they are going to start focusing on this area right here. This is on the eastern side of Lake Castaic, and it appears we are seeing for the first time these flames getting close to a structure. I'm trying to get some more information from SkyCal as to exactly where this is, but this is near the southeastern portion of the fire. In the northeastern flank of this fire, it has crossed over Lake Hughes Road and is continuing to burn to the northeast. To the south, It is burning along the eastern edge of Lake Castaic. And on the west, it's burning into what I would call the bowl or the V of Lake Castaic. Now, what we're seeing here, I believe, is a British Aerospace 146-200. That is an aircraft. There are 3 of them, Phoscheck or water dropping aircraft that are here on station. Most of the fixed wing aircraft are operating on the east side of the fire. The water dropping helicopters are operating on the west side, and this is mostly because of the wind and the smoke. The water dropping helicopters have easy access to water on the northwestern corner of Lake Castaic. I'm going to show you all this in a minute, but you can see here a great Phoscheck drop by this BA 146, and you can see right behind that Phoscheck dropping aircraft is another, I believe that may be a MD-87. Yeah, I think so. And that one's going to drop about 4,000 gallons of Phoscheck. That one right there, also out of San Bernardino International Airport. Every time they do this drop, they fly all the way back to San Bernardino International to refill and come back.
We're on Ridge Rot Road, right off Lake Hughes Road, and you can see those flames right on the hill behind me. And I'm told by some neighbors here that that's a church that may be beginning to catch fire. And you see those flames, they've really grown in size in just the last few minutes as the winds pick up. You've never been, you said this is the most frightening thing that you have seen in terms of fire.
Right, yeah, so this has been the closest it's ever been. I've been here for 12 years, more than 12 years, and this is probably the closest the fire has gotten past the lake. The last fire we had, I think it was a post fire, was behind the lake, threatening those homes, but this is the first time I've seen it actually come across the lake. There's a church up there, there's a road that takes us to the town of Lake Hughes. There is a church up there, there is one structure, and I think that's what's catching on fire. I'm wandering down the trees. I mean, I saw the Palisades fire, and I saw people do wonders with the garden hose, so I'm like, hey, why not? Let me water down the trees, the roof. I mean, it might help. It might help.
Oliver, up here up the street, I'm just seeing these neighbors doing whatever they can, and someone was helping someone else bring their bags out to the car. Yeah. Neighbors helping neighbors. We've seen that over and over again. I mean, hoses are out, but the winds have really picked up.
Yeah. Right behind us on the other side, on the north sort of eastern side of the lake, you can see all of those flames chewing through all of that brush right there, and then right underneath the flames is a structure, so you see how that structure is completely dwarfed by all of the flames that are just ripping up that hillside. Assad, if you wouldn't mind, you can see over here by those trees right there, there's almost fire tornado, if you will, as you can see some of the flames just kind of swirling in there, kicking up all this ash, kicking up all of this smoke, and you just get a sense of just how dangerous that burn right there is, because the smoke that is coming out of it is just so dark and so thick. In addition to all of that smoke, chances are you've got some of the oils that are in some of the dried up vegetation that has been sitting there for so long, and just within the last 15 seconds, what started as one little swirl is almost like a river of flames right before our eyes as this thing keeps on expanding closer and closer to Lake Hughes Road. Now, oftentimes this lake is almost used as a reservoir for the water dropping aircraft, and we have not heard the percussion of any of the helicopters over us in quite some time, just because simply the conditions here are awfully dangerous.
Alrighty, Jeff, thanks so much. We could definitely hear the wind, see the smoke, and what a perfect descriptor when he said it looked like a river of flames in that area there. So dangerous.
That in this area, the current wind gusts are sitting at about 29 miles per hour in Castaic Junction, and then 30 miles per hour as we move down into Santa Clarita. And they're looking at Castaic Lake next to where the Hughes Fire broke out. Temperatures are very warm. They are in the upper 60s to low 70s, and winds are sustained out of the northeast at about 20 to 35 miles per hour. So that is pushing the fire to the southwest. So when you have a northeasterly wind, that's why you can see that plume of smoke that's heading down into the I-5 corridor and out into the Santa Clarita Valley, because that is in a southwesterly direction. So the next 24 hours, hour by hour, until about 5 o'clock tonight, we are going to be looking at winds up to 30, 35 miles per hour. Then starting at about 6 a.m., so that 12-hour time is going to be at about 15 to potentially 20 miles per hour. So that'll be helpful. But then cranking picking it back up again, because remember, Santa Anas are intensifying tomorrow. Our offshore wind is strengthening for our Thursday. And so then we're going to see those winds bump back up into that 40, 50, potentially 60 mile per hour winds as we head into our Thursday.
Yeah, so this has got a critical rate of spread right now. These high winds are pushing it much more quickly, and anytime it runs uphill, it'll go up at about 8 times the normal speed. So this is a very dangerous sort of situation. You've got a lot of dry fuels, you've got a lot of hot weather that led to that, and then you've got these high winds that's moving it very quickly. Yeah, so this vegetation is extremely dry. In 2023, there was 200% precipitation. In 2024, 150%. That created a lot of light, flashy fuels like grasses. That moves quickly through those. In addition, there's a lot of chaparral, which has a high amount of energy in it. When you take those combined, you've got a high likelihood of ignition, a high likelihood of extreme flame growth, and then you push it with winds, and that just creates a recipe that can allow these fires to spread very quickly. At this point, there's so much water here, they're not going to run out. There are challenges sometimes with infrastructure, but at this point, I think we'll be good on water. What they're going to be doing right now is focusing on people, just making sure no lives are lost.
So this area obviously was already under a mandatory evacuation order, so hopefully everyone was able to get out and get their pets out. I did see some LA County Sheriff's deputies down in these neighborhoods on the loudspeaker trying to get anyone out who might still be in the fire's path. We also came to the north side of the fire a little bit earlier to show you some pictures, because my biggest concern, frankly, is this fire jumping the 5, because if it does and the winds continue to blow to the west, then that is going to be an even more out of control situation. The fire around the lake itself has mostly burnt itself out. It kind of ran out of fuel around Castaic Lake, and you can't see it from this side, but it's actually pretty clear on the north side, and that's allowing all of those water-dropping helicopters to go in there with lightning speed and reload and drop their payloads on this fire. But obviously just so much to burn, and with the way this is all set up, the fire definitely has a big advantage, but at least the winds are light enough that we're able to have those air tankers and have those helicopters.
0% contained. 19,000 people are under mandatory evacuation, while another 15,000 plus, because we just heard Mike Rogers say another area in Piru is now under evacuation warning. So that's going to add to that 15,000 number. The CHP has closed the 5 freeway in both directions between the Grapevine and State Route 126.
The Hughes Fire is now estimated to be over 9,400 acres with 0% containment, with no structures reported damaged or destroyed. We have over 4,000 firefighting personnel assigned to the incident, and we had a very robust ground and air response to the incident that you see behind me. The LA County Fire Department is in unified command with the Angeles National Forest, and we are getting assistance from our state partners at CAL FIRE.
Right now, the numbers that I have is that we have approximately 31,000 people who are affected by our evacuation orders. Another 23,000 that are impacted by evacuation warnings. Along with the work that our deputies have been doing, and you've seen them going from neighborhood to neighborhood, making sure that we are protecting the neighborhoods to make sure nobody gets hurt, traffic ingress and egress, and also, unfortunately, when we talk about fires, our staff knows that immediately they start what we call looter suppression, just to make sure that no one's coming into the area to take advantage when people are evacuating their homes. So I want to make sure people know that if you leave your homes, there will be additional deputies working out there in the neighborhoods to make sure your homes are safe.
On scene, our law enforcement, our sheriff's deputies, the CHP, they did great work today, and it was a good example of what we can do when we have enough people and when we have enough aircraft. Yeah, their morale is excellent. And firefighters and sheriff's deputies, they never give up, and they're ready to keep doing it until the weather changes. We do have rain that's predicted for this weekend. It was light to moderate. I think it's being bumped up to moderate. It's hard to believe that we might have rain Saturday, Sunday, and Monday when we have fire weather on Wednesday. They're tireless, they're driven, and they've done an amazing job over the last 16 days. So proud of them.
As intense as it looks right now, they did tell us that things are looking a little better right now. They are getting what they believe is the upper hand on this. 9,400 acres burning so far, but right now still zero containment. But Pat, they were saying they're going to leave these 4,000 firefighting personnel assigned to this firefight all through the night.
And that they credit that and the extra resources that we have here because of the fires that we've had before, the Altadena and the Palisades fire. So they have a number, at least as you said, 4,000 firefighters on this fire that will remain through the night. 31,000 evacuation orders are in effect, 23,000 evacuation warnings. And I do remember, I believe it was the sheriff or Chief Maroney that said, even if you have an evacuation warning, be ready to go.
Yes, we are at Combat Paintball Park. We were here earlier, and on our first live shot at around 4:30 or so, the hillsides were on fire completely. And yes, we've heard fire officials saying that conditions have improved. They have a better handle on this fire, but clearly you can see from the hillsides behind me, things can change, and we've been saying this for the last 2 weeks with all the fires we have covered, but even 10 minutes ago, this fire line that Joe is showing you right now was far to the left, and it has just traveled and it's gone over the hillside. You can see smoke billowing, and as the night falls, these flames are really going to shine a light on these hillsides, and this is going to be, again, an additional challenge because you will have reduced visibility with all of the thick smoke, with all of the dark smoke, and of course the nightfall. So these.
It does look like they're moving away from you. I know this is a great vantage point right there.
Yeah, they're moving away, and I think also I should mention that the demeanor of firefighters when we first came to this location, engines were coming in, they looked in a very stressed position, and then once they were on their way out, as the hillside in front of us was starting to kind of burn into each other and was starting to char, and we didn't see any hot spots, and as the fire was moving and they were putting it out and it was naturally putting itself out in some spots, they became more relaxed, and that's what we love to see out here.
Yeah, very, very thick, and some ash is falling from the sky, obviously from the glow, the fire that you see behind me there on the hill. And I can tell you at least the 5 southbound is open. We're seeing traffic beginning to move back through here as neighbors have just been watching to see what this fire does. And again, that hillside just aglow with the flames.
When I looked outside a window, all I can see is pitch black because of the fire. And it was actually, when we went out and we all looked, it was just ginormous. And we got a evacuation to my NPR. And
the multi-purpose room.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then right when I got in there, they got radioed that I'm going home and stuff.
You were saying you saw the plume. You kind of saw this fire start around 10:45 in the morning and thought, "Oh no, what's going to happen here?"
Yeah, it was just a little straight column up in the air, and next thing you know, it was huge. It happened so quickly. I didn't even have time to really think too much about it. I started getting some stuff together, and then looked out the door, and it was really big. I was like, I think it's time to go get the kids.
Yeah, absolutely. So around our fourth period of time, which is 10:30 to about 12, we were noticing a big plume of smoke coming out, and we were obviously thinking it's not a lot. And then 20 minutes later, obviously it turned into a lot bigger of a mess, and it was just pure chaos at the high school. You could obviously see ash and embers falling from the sky. It was like something out of apocalypse. Scary.
So how'd you get home? You live here in this neighborhood. You jumped in with a friend?
I jumped in with one of my senior friends, and she thankfully took me home.
Okay. You get home, are your parents there, or then what do you guys do next? Is you see that the winds were really gusting this afternoon, and then you're under still an evacuation order?
We just be ready to prepare. Obviously, we know at any moment of time, the wind could shift and it could come to us. So just gotta stay prepared and be ready to leave at all times.
It was surreal, but we've been through it before. So this is our second time being evacuated in 7 years. So
You know, sometimes we hear of people not following the orders for your family. Why did you kind of take it so seriously?
Because you can replace your home and belongings, but you can't replace, your loved ones and your pets and stuff. So we decided, don't risk it. Just do what the authorities want you to do. So
I mean, we've got suitcases of some clothes and basic necessity things, some waters, and we got a little bit of food and snacks inside, just in case we aren't able to get home tonight.
Tonight, here's the latest at 9:30. Evacuation orders and warnings are still in effect for more than 50,000 people. The good news is acreage hasn't changed much in the last few hours.
Well, it has been holding steady around 9,200 acres, but now is not the time to let our guards down. Wind gusts expected to pick up once again tomorrow, according to our meteorologist. Well, Eric called it a big concern tonight for many communities across Southern California.
That's right. That's because there is so much smoke up here, although it is considerably clearer than it was just a few hours ago. We're a few miles up Lake Hughes Road above Castaic in the Angeles National Forest. This is where intense firefight still continues. In fact, if we first start going up into the mountains, I want to show you the hand crews that we saw hiking up into the mountainsides. They have those headlamps on and flashlights guiding their way. That is really difficult work, but they are going up there. They want to make sure that they are able to get a view of any hot spots and flare-ups and stop them in their tracks, even though this is not near any homes or businesses and it's really just terrain burning. They do want to make sure that they at least have some control over it. This is an area of concern because this is where the fire rolled down and roared down towards the community of Castaic earlier today, and they just want to make sure, even though the wind has really lightened up, they want to make sure that it does not roar back towards that community.